Good morning, Moray Rabotai, Baruchim Abayim. We are continuing on Masechet Rosh Hashanah, and we are on Daf Yud Amud Bet, 15 lines down from the top of the Amud. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Today's Amud is being learned as a Zechud Refuah Shelema for Daniel, Moshe ben Farangis Abraham, the Shalav Refuah Shelema, also for Shira bat Chemda, Rachel Simcha bat Nahid. They should all have Refuah Shelema. Today's Amud is also dedicated Leilui Nishmat Betzalel ben Rafael ve'Esther by Mahbubi family, and Leilui Nishmat Esther bat Naftali Tzvi Levi by Abraham family. This month's learning of the community has been dedicated graciously by the Shei family and Mahbubi families. Should be an ultimate zechut for all their mishpachot. Amen. So we start what started in Daf Tet Amud Bet, 4 lines up from the bottom of the Amud by Tanu Rabbanan. The discussion of how long before the start of the Shemitah year you have to plant something in order for it to be considered having been planted the year before Shvi'it. The Braita said 30 days, right? We all know that he said within 30 days you have to uproot the plantation, the tree, and also it is not considered enough to count the year, even though that it is like 29 days before Tishrei, still not enough of a period for it to be considered 1 year tree when it comes to halachot of orla, waiting 3 years, right? That's the Braita there. And we tried to go back, forth, to figure out who is the author of this Braita. And in the process of discussion, we discussed a lot of very interesting things. We discussed the fact that there's a machloket, Tanaim. How long does it take for something to root, right? Tanakama holds it takes 30 days to root, and Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Shimon hold that it takes 2 weeks. Rabbi Elazar holds it takes 3 days. And we went through the discussion, and what started as a tmiha, what started the Gemara, what prompted that Braita in Tet Amud Bet, saying that this Braita should not be like Rabbi Meir, because Rabbi Meir is the one that we know, a famous Yom Echad B'Shana, Chashuv Shana, that 1 day even in the year is considered a whole year. We ended up saying actually the only person that this Braita could be authored by is Rabbi Meir, that 1 day in the year is considered a year. So why does it say 30 days? Because Rabbi Meir holds like Tanakama, that for it to have enough roots that stand alone and it's now supported by its own roots, it takes 30 days. And therefore, Rabbi Meir says, well, if you didn't plant the seed 30 days before Shemitah, then it's taking root in Shemitah, it's becoming its own plant in Shemitah, and hence you have to uproot it. But if you did it before 30 days before the Shemitah, then it has already taken a root. Even 1 day before Shemitah is sufficient, because Yom Echad B'Shana, Chashuv Shana. So therefore, we ended with a machloket between Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Elazar, whether we say Yom Echad B'Shana, Chashuv Shana, 1 day in year is considered as a year, or we need maybe 30 days B'Shana, a whole month. Maybe the minimum of consideration for 1 full year is 30 days. That was the machloket that we dealt with. Now the Gemara says, okay, it's beautiful to say Yom Echad B'Shana Chashuv Shana. Where do you get that from? And why does Rabbi Elazar disagree? Whatever the source of that is, each one of them would need a source why they consider 1 day or 1 month as a count of full year, right? And surprisingly, the Gemara is going to say that both of them learned it from the same exact pasuk, and this is prior to Matan Torah. Let's take a quick look at the Gemara together. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says, "V'shnehem mikra echad darshu." Both Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Elazar, they darshined the halacha they hold, whether 1 day or 1 month is considered a whole full year, from the same pasuk. What's the pasuk? This is a pasuk describing the situation of Noach at the very end of the Mabul, when he is about to come out of the Teva, the pasuk says, and I read from the side the full pasuk, "Vehi ba'achad v'shesh me'ot shana," in the 601st year of, obviously, the life of Noach, right? He was still a young man, only 601 years. So he said he be'echad bechodesh, the first month, Barishon is the first month of the year. Be'echad lachodesh, the first day of the month, charavu hamayim, the water of the Mabul dried out. Me'al ha'ares, from the face of the earth. V'yasar Noach et michzeh ha'teva, he takes the cover, the door of the Teva off. He peeks out. Vayar ve'hineh charvu penei ha'adama. He sees that the face of the earth has dried, and the world is getting ready, little by little, for being, inhabited again by human beings. So says the Gemara. First of all, you have to understand this. There's no months of Yetziat Mitzrayim yet, right? So you have to understand when he says Sheshmot Shana Barishon, this is the first month of Sheshmot Shana. What month is this? Is it Nisan? Because whenever we say Echad, Chodesh Harishon is always Nisan in Tanakh. But maybe that's only after Yetziat Mitzrayim, right? Here's the first time that we are counting months of the year, and it's prior to Yetziat Mitzrayim, right? HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem Rosh Chodashim was said because of Yetziat Mitzrayim, because we became a nation, right? So, as we will see, there is a serious argument that this is actually referring to Tishrei, not to Nisan. But be as it may, whatever the point, because that's from Yetzirat HaOlam, from Briat HaOlam, right? But be that as it may, the pasuk says, "Be'achat v'shesh me'ot shana barishon be'echat lachodesh." So what does that mean? When you translate it, it's the 601st year of Noach's life, in the first month, in the first day of the month. So you are in the 601st year, but how much you're in? 1 day. You're literally 1 day into the year. The year started yesterday, right? This is the first day, actually today, last night, is the first day of the year. Barishon be'echad lachodesh. It is, however you slice this, is Echad b'Tishrei, Echad b'Nisan, doesn't make a difference. It's the first day of the count of the year, and it's literally the first day, first month, first day. And yet, the pasuk is considering it a whole year, because it says 601 year. You're calling it a Shana, right? 601 years. So you're calling 1 day a whole year. Otherwise, don't tell me Shana, right? Why are you telling me Shana? Because you're telling me these are 601 years, whereas one of them is only 1 day. So says the Gemara, Rabbi Meir looked at this pasuk and said, you see from this pasuk that 1 day in a year is called in the psukim a year. So when we have things of years counting, once you're into the year, it's like, you start the 21st century, right? Year 2000 is considered already 21st century, right? Because you're in it's considered a year. So
Rabbi, isn't there a difference between something being an actual year and something being called a year?
Obviously, it could be, but we're now discussing what is called a year. When the Torah says, bring a par ben bakar, which means a 2-year-old, or par, right?
Right. So
if it's a 3-year-old, par bakar, or par that's 3-year-old, right? Egel ben bakar is 2, or ben bakar is 2, right? Or when we say, egel alone, which means 1 year, what exactly, how do you count the years? Or when we say the Shnot HaOrlah, right? If I had 1 day before the end of the year, right? What is this tree called? Is it a 2-year-old tree? Is it a 3-year-old tree? Right? The Torah says I need 3 years arelim. It has to be an Orlah for 3 years. What does that mean? 3 times 365? 3 times 354? Or does it go by a mark of a year. If it goes by a mark of a year, so what is the minimum of that mark? Is it 30 days? Or is it 1 day? Right? How much do I have to plant this before the Orah for you to be happy that this is already 1 year by the time I hit Rosh Chodesh Tishrei, which is the Rosh Hashanah for Netiyah, right? That was the whole discussion, right? It's not something that I'm going to shoot from the hip, as you can't shoot from the and make a svarat hakere, say, oh, well, it's a lot of months, so it's good enough. It doesn't work like that. When the Torah calls something years, what is considered a year? Minimum of a year. That is called a year. So the Meir says, if you started this before the end of the year, its year is up. It could be 5 months, it could be 11 months, it could be 10 months, it could be 1 day. Rabbi Elazar says, no, it cannot be 1 day. You need a minimum of a month of the year to be considered enough that a year has passed. I mean, it's in second year. This tree is in its second year. If it's a day before, not good enough. Rabbi Meir says, no, it's good enough. As long as you started its life and it's like self-sufficient before the year ends, once the year passes, meaning you hit Rosh Chodesh Tishrei, it's in its second year now. And that's what the Torah means. When it says 3 years Arelim Yiyu, it means you have to go through the passage of not 3 times 365, but 3 of the Rosh Hashanahs of Netiyah, which means Rosh Chodesh Tishrei. So you see a problem. We got a problem here because you have to either be 3 times years, whatever lunar or solar year you want, or it has to be a mark on the calendar. And the moment that you say it's a mark on the calendar, which our Mishnah says, right? Rosh Chodesh Tishrei, Rosh Hashanah Netiyah, the moment you say that, you have this question. There's no 2 ways about it. The moment that you say there's a mark in the year that marks the passage of the year, you say, oh, can it be 2 hours? Can it be 1 day? Can it be one? What's the minimum? That will be the immediate question that will follow.
Does Rabbi Eliezer hold this 30 days with the king? Because we said with the king, if he becomes the king the day before the first day of Rosh Chodesh Nisan, that's the second year already. Does Rabbi Eliezer also disagree on that? It has to be 30 days? Or does he agree on that one? That 1 day is fine?
It's a good question. Not sure. I think he would agree that is Yom Echad, B'Shana Chashuv Shana, because he doesn't say that Rabbi Eliezer disagrees, and he would have a source limited. The source that he's going to bring here right now will be perhaps limited to that. That's the Nish Tarot. This is really what the Pasuk calls itself. So, by Shtarot, maybe he agreed by the others, but it's a good question. Okay?
How come we can't interpret this pasuk by saying maybe Noach's birthday was 3 months before, he's in his 601st year, and it just happens to tell you that on the first day of the earth that this happened? Why do we have to assume that the identification of the day of the year has anything to do with his birthday?
Because the Torah calls it like that. The Torah hinges the count of the years to the months of the year and to the days of the month, right? Otherwise, I'm not interested to know necessarily how old he was. Well, I'm saying that loosely because we do need, for certain cheshborot, the years of Noach. But the way the pasuk is mentioned, both of them, and you'll see, becomes even much more sophisticated in just a moment. Next line of the Gemara, when Rabbi Eliezer disagrees with Rabbi Meir, he says, well, you didn't even read the pasuk correctly. It's written in a very specific way for a very specific reason. So both of them are taking the psukim very seriously, indicating that the way the pasuk is written is coming to teach you how we count years in the Torah, right? And this is even before the Matan Torah, but the Torah speaks in this language. When the Torah talks about passage of years, this is how the Torah chooses its language. So I could take this and apply it to anywhere in the Torah that years are counted, teaching me how to count months, days, and years. So it says the Gemara, Rabbi Eliezer disagrees with him. Now, we explained this outside. We're going to actually read it now inside. ויהי באחת ל600 שנה בראשון באחד לחודש. And Rabbi Meir Savar, Rabbi Meir says, mid'akte yom echadu. This is literally the first day of the year, first day of the month, in the first month of the year, so literally it's the first day of the year, it still counts it as the 601st year. The Ayil B'Shana, the Kakari Leshana, the Pasuk calls this a year. Says the Gemara, Shma Mina, Yom Echad B'Shana, Chashuv Shana. You see from here, the one day in the year is called, in the language of Tanakh, in the biblical language, it's called a Shana. Ve'idach, Rabbi Elazar says, whoa. No, that's not too fast. Because, Iktiv B'Shesh Me'ot Ve'achat Shana, if you would say in 601 years, you would be correct. Kedkamrat. But it doesn't say it like that. It counts it as 1 and 600 years. Why do you have to say ba'achat v'sheshmot shana? Say sheshmot shana v'achat. Sheshmot v'achat shana. Right? The fact that you see the word shana is not mentioned next to achat, but next to sheshmeot, is coming to actually tell you this very halacha, that the word shana is only mentioned on the 600. But the first, meaning 601st year, that 1 year is not mentioned next to the year to tell you that it's not considered a year. Right? It's exactly coming to tell you this, says Rabbi Elazar. But now it says, Hashta dichtiv, now that it says, Be'achat v'shesh me'ot shana, the word shana is mentioned next to 600, excluding the 1. So the 1 year, the new year that started yesterday or last night, is not considered the whole full year, says Rabbi Elazar. Shana ashesh me'ot kai, the word shana is only going back to the word 600. Umay achat, and when it says achat v'shesh me'ot, it's coming to this is the beginning. Atchalta the achat is the beginning of the 601st year, not that the first year, the 601st, is considered full shana. So you're coming to say diuk on the pasuk says Rabbi Elazar to Rabbi Meir. Let's be very serious about it. If you would say shesh me'ot ve'achat shana, you would say okay, chazak baruch. It's saying 601 years, but it doesn't say that. It says 1 and 600 years. That means 600 full years and 1 day, which is the beginning of the first 601st year, right? So says the Gemara, Rabbi Eliezer, that's a good fending off, says the Gemara. That's amazing. So Rabbi Elazar has a good comeback to the Raya of Rabbi Meir, right? He has a good comeback to the Raya of Rabbi Meir, but where does he get it that you need 30 days? In other words, the question is a glaring question. The moment you tell me that there has to be a cutoff line, a mark on the calendar, the immediate follow-up question is, okay, so what's the minimum? I'm going to hit Rosh Chodesh Tishrei in 2 days, in 2 weeks, in 2 months. What's the minimum of passage of time that's considered a full year? And Rabbi Elazar said 1 month, and we said that he learns it also from this pasuk. Where in this pasuk? Says the Gemara, Rabbi Elazar Maitama. Where does he get from this pasuk 1 month? Dichtiv, as it says, Barishon be'echad lachodesh. In the first month, in the first day of the month. It doesn't say, like the Rashash writes, it doesn't write Barishon be'echad. If I would have wanted to tell you the first day of the day, it's a Barishon be'echad. There's no other way to learn that, right? If I would say Barishon be'echad, I would know it's the first day of the first month, right? But yet, the pasuk goes out of its way to say Chodesh next to the first day, right? It doesn't say the first month, be Chodesh Echad Barishon. Doesn't say that. It says Barishon be'echad lechodesh. It mentions the word Chodesh next to the first day of the month, to tell you that 1 day in a month is considered a month. Once you enter the counting measures, like the counting what's what you count the month with is the days, right? The units. That's the word I'm looking for, right? The counting units of a month is the day. So once you go into the month, the first unit is already considered you're into the month. It could be called a month, right? Because I'm now holding Bechad LaChodesh. I'm in this month now. So says Rabbi Elazar, once the pasuk tells me that I could use one unit of count of anything as the whole thing, now I will know that for a year I need a month. Because what are the units of counting a year? 12 months. You don't say 365 days. That really depends. Lunar, Jewish month, Jewish year, lunar year, solar year, that's very debatable. But everyone knows that it's months, right? So you go after the units of the count, so you need at least one unit for it to be counted on the name of the whole thing. So a month, you need a unit of day. A year, you need a unit of month. So you need a 30-day period for you to be considered a month. So if you have something that hits the mark on the calendar, but it's less than 30 days, you can't count that a year. You can't. You at least need 30 days that you've entered, you've counted one unit, which is a month, then you can say, okay, fine, now we're talking. So says the Gemara, let's just read it inside. It's one day and it's calling it a month. That you learn from here that one day of the year is considered a year. And from the fact that one day in the month is considered a month, 1 month during the year could be considered a year, because chodesh limnuyav, the month would go after its counting units, which is days. V'shana limnuyeha, and a year would be also after its counting units, which is months. Right? So that is the description of the Machloket Rabbi Meir of Yom Echad B'Shana Chashuv Shana, and Rabbi Elazar that holds you need 30 days minimum to be considered a year. Now here, this parenthesis, usually we skip parentheses, right? But this one, the Rashi omits it, the Tosfot actually keeps it. So we're going to read it. From here you see both Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Meir, both of them hold that the world was created not in Tishrei, but in Nisan. Now this is a shas, one of the most famous sugyas. This is really officially 5 lines up from the bottom of the Amud, and Yud Amud Bet in Masechet Rosh Hashanah is the beginning of one of the most well-known sugyas of shas, whether or not the world was created in Nisan or in Tishrei, and what does that even mean? And when the birthday of the Avot was, where the Geulah Atidah, when Mashiach is going to come. All of that is going to be in the next few lines of the Gemara, and then the Gemara is going to discuss some of those amazing things in the next daf of the Gemara. So we started. Without further ado, the Gemara says, Tanya, we're going to come back to this, that both Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Elazar hold that Benisan Nivra Olam, that the world was created in Nisan. Because, well, the simple understanding is because we're talking about Noach. This is way before Yetziat Mitzrayim, and the pasuk counts it as Barishon Be'echad LaChodesh, the first month of the year, and we are assuming that this is Nisan. So, must be that there's no point of count of Yetziat Mitzrayim. So why in the world would you be counting from Nisan, other than the fact that the world was created and conceived in Nisan, right? That's how the Gemara is developing it. But for this to be any meaningful measure, we have to actually learn the Machloket Tanaim about the creation of the world, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Tanya, we don't have enough time to finish this, but we will start it. Tanya, Rabbi Eliezer Omer, but Tishrei Nivrei HaOlam. The world was created in Tishrei, in Chodesh Tishrei. Betishrei. No do Avot in Tishrei. Avot HaKdoshim were born, which we're referring to Avraham and Yaakov. We'll see in just a moment, right? Betishrei metu Avot. And just like they were born in Tishrei, they also passed away on Tishrei. Pesach nolad Yitzchak. Yitzchak Avinu, on all accounts, was born on Pesach. Rosh Hashanah nifkeda Sarah, Rachel, v'Chana. On the day of Rosh Hashanah, Sarah, Rachel, and Chana, the three matriarchs, so to speak. Chana is also became like a brand name in Klal Yisrael, right? They were all barren. Chana was barren for 19 plus years, right? And all of them, they were nifkedu berosh Hashanah. The whole story of Vatitpalel Chana, it's the mother of Shmuel HaNavi, and the beautiful tefillah that he had, and the whole Gemara in Masechet Brachot, that we learn all the halachot of tefillah from Chana, all of that happened on Rosh Hashanah, right? And says the Gemara, Berosh Hashanah yatsa Yosef mit Asurin, the day that Paro called Yosef from the pit was also on Rosh Hashanah. Berosh Hashanah batla avodah ma'avotenu, the day that the Jews stopped working, the slavery stopped in Mitzrayim, was not right before Nisan, was months before, right? It was months before. This is on Rosh Hashanah already. They stopped working some 6 months before they came out of Mitzrayim at the least. So says the Gemara, Mitzrayim, Benisan Nigalu, in the Chodesh Nisan, they came out of Mitzrayim, they were saved. Betishri Atidin Ligael. But the Geula Ha'atida, the coming of the Mashiach, is going to be in Tishrei, right? Amazing. Gemara says, Rabbi Yeshua disagrees with this, with some of it. Rabbi Yeshua says, well, I agree with you in some, I disagree with some. Some major Jewish events is Machloket Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Eliezer when they happened, right? Geula Atida and the creation of the world being the two biggest ones, the beginning and the end period of the world, according to both, has to happen at the same time, right? But it's a Machloket. Rabbi Yeshua holds that it's Benisan Nigalu, Benisan Atidin Nigael. Rabbi Eliezer holds Benisan Nigalu, Betishri Atidin Nigael, right? But says Rabbi Yeshua, Benisan Nivra HaOlam, the point of the beginning of the world and the end of when Mashiach comes has to be the same. Says Benisan Nivra HaOlam, the world was created not in Tishrei but in Nisan. Benisan Noldu Avot, Benisan Metu Avot, Bepesach Nolad Yitzchak. Again, this is the creation of the world and the creation of Am Yisrael, which is the Avot, is also kept in the same month. So Rabbi Eliezer, who holds that the world was created in Tishrei, he holds also Avot, the birthday is in Tishrei. Rabbi Yeshua, who holds the world was created in Nisan, he also holds that Avot were born in Nisan. Bepesach nolad Yitzchak, that's the same. Berosh Hashanah nifkeda Sarah, Rachel, v'Chana, that's the same. Berosh Hashanah yatsa Yosef mit Asurim, that's the same. Berosh Hashanah batla avodah ma'avotenu b'Mitzrayim, that's the same. Benisan nigalu u'benisan atidin ligael, that the Geula Ha'atida is going to be also in Nisan. Now we're going to end right now because we're out of time, but I'll just to have like a major cliffhanger. We believe that Mashiach is going to come any day, right? Right? We are mechake bechol yom sheyavo. Any day he could come. Actually, this has halachic nafkaminas. If a person says, Hareni Nazir beyom sheyavo ben David, right? Here I am. If a person makes a neder Nazir, he says, I'll become a Nazir, but I don't want to be like a Nazir Olam. I'll become a Nazir the day Mashiach is going to come, right? So, can he drink wine? So Gemara says he could drink wine on Shabbat and Yom Tov because Mashiach is not going to come. We're going to discuss that why. But all the other days of his years is going to be asur to drink wine. right? Because maybe today is going to be the beginning of his Nezirut. Well, wait a second. I thought Mashiach can't come until Nisan. It's according to, make your choice of Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Eliezer, if Benisan atidin nigael or Betishre atidin nigael, at least give the poor guy 10 months during the year that he could drink because Mashiach's not going to come, right? And obviously that's just a halachic ramification, but in Begadol, in our emunah, that any second, right, Mashiach could come, and that's actually the words of Chazal, Hayomi bekoli tishma. We have to really reconcile all of that, put it together, which B'ezrat Hashem will be something that we'll do in the next year.